And let's take you back to our top story, which is all about Donald Trump and his barrage of executive orders, which could not only reorder American domestic economy and politics, but also have profound global impact. To talk about it, we have with us former senior diplomat Ambassador S.R. Thayil. Good evening to you, Ambassador Thayil. Now, what would you say to those who had hoped that Trump's bark would prove to be, worse than his bite, but now that he has bitten, can he chew it?
I would say that there is some consistency in what President, as a candidate, had been saying all through his campaign, and the kind of orders which have been issued immediately after his inaugural. In fact, some of those executive orders are a continuation of Trump 01, in the sense that, like, in his first term, President Trump in 2020 had taken US out of WHO, which takes 1 year to go out. So, but it was reversed by President Biden. Then Paris Accord, Climate Accord, President Trump had walked out of that in his first term also. And then this time on illegal immigration, he has taken very swift action. Last time his proposal was to build a wall, and it took a lot of time and only a portion could be built. But now he is coming out with a new strategy of putting American troops there and declaring emergency and all of that. Some of his ideas are new, that to take drug cartels and declare them as terrorists. So there is a lot of content. If yesterday his inaugural speech, one hears carefully, of course, he spoke a lot against the previous administration. But if we set that aside, and the only concrete thing which he mentioned was about Panama Canal. He did not mention Canada or Greenland or very quick tariffs. And if there is decisions are taken after due deliberation, due consultation, and then that the world can deal with them. I'm sure our External Affairs Minister is there, and he is having one-on-one with Secretary of State Rubio. And tomorrow the Quad meeting is there. So that is diplomacy, normal interaction between, let us say, India and US. So executive orders have been issued. They are all expected lines, but and it's some kind of continuation of what was done in the first term of President Trump, which was reversed by President Biden. So that is being restored. And now he has some new strategies. President Trump in his second term has some new strategies, but the objectives remain the same: against illegal immigration and high tariffs, using tariffs as a weapon. The new element which has come is about, well, some people call it expansionism, that comments about Greenland, comments about Canada, Gulf of Mexico. Well, if it is called Gulf of America, even then the under UN Conference Law of the Sea, the EEZ, etc., 200 kilometers, that will not change. So what is the objective there? So the one has to wait and watch, but of course it will shake up the world and international relations, because America is entering a phase of course, make America great again. But along with that, America first. And there is little to show in his speech that the caring America will be there for the world, because being the richest country, there is some expectation on part of the world that America's policies will care for those who do not have as much as riches and prosperity as the Americans have. But one part of his statement, that he will not have new wars and he will avoid wars, and that has promise. That means that on Russia-Ukraine, one can think or expect some movement, because that blanket and blind and total support of NATO and US to President Zelensky and Ukraine was a never-ending war and some kind of compromise. And in the confirmation speeches, the Secretary of State has said that both sides have to make some concessions, both sides,
Yes.
and that is the way, if you have to have a compromise. So he would not like an endless war. And we must remember that this is the President Trump who walked out of Afghanistan. When he realized that it is an unwinnable war, he had that agreement in Doha to take the American troops out of Afghanistan, and which was followed by President Biden. So he can, as a businessman, as a transactional leader, he can assess that perhaps the Russia-Ukraine war, there is no way Ukraine can win. So better come to some compromise. So let us see how it goes. But he will shake up the existing beliefs, existing relationships, existing equations, not only with adversaries like China, but also with
I
friends.
wanted to
Whether
ask you about China, in fact, because China really has come up, within the 24 hours of his swearing in, only in the context of the Panama Canal. Whereas when you talked about tariffs, the highest tariffs were supposed to be imposed if you look at his campaigning against China. But he's talked first about 25% tariffs against Canada and Mexico.
I think with China, there is something going on, some negotiations are going on. President Trump and President Xi Jinping had a telephone call just 3 days back, and their vice president Chinese vice president is in Washington. He will have talks with the vice president of USA. So, TikTok has not, well, earlier President Trump himself had advocated a ban, and when the ban has taken place, which has been endorsed by the Supreme Court with full unanimous decision of the U.S. Supreme Court, and President Trump has extended or postponed the ban by 75 days. So there is some negotiation, some deal going on with China. It is very, very clear. And what exactly are the asks of President Trump? Only time will tell. But no announcement has come about more tariffs on China. Earlier also, President Trump had imposed tariffs on China, I think about 20%, that was continued by President Biden. So this is all negotiations, and well, if there are negotiations, then that is normal diplomacy, I would say. But he can change his position, he can change his views, and he is very flexible and transactional. So one has to expect that President Trump is unpredictable and he can change his policies as the time requires or as his own interests.
Certainly, TikTok is the latest example. He initiated the process to get TikTok banned in the US, and now he's saying that he's giving TikTok a reprieve because he thinks that TikTok partially or as a majority stake in the US, at least its US arm should be owned by an American company or an American individual. But what do you make of the fact that a lot of these executive orders that he's issued and the steps that he's saying he's going to take could face challenges as well, not just a general resistance, but challenges which are legislative and challenges which are judicial?
That is the normal process. Any executive order can be challenged by in the court as well as by the Congress, but that process will take time, and it will become effective immediately. But that is the normal process in a democracy, and rule of law will prevail. The procedures will prevail. So yes, there is unexpected actions by President Trump, but they are not really unexpected in the sense that he has been talking about them. And world, I think, is sort of prepared to deal with a unpredictable presidential term where America first and other countries' concerns may not have any weightage in American decision making. But America is, of course, president is all powerful, but there is a Senate, there is a Congress, there are judiciary, there are NGOs, there are all kinds of other centers of influence where their decisions, their opinion matters in a democratic system.
And do you feel that in general India and US relations will remain on the ascendance, or will there be some hiccups along the way?
Except on the issue of tariff, there is really no point of friction between whatever President Trump has been saying as a candidate, that his expectations are. And of course, there is a segment of about 70,000 perhaps Indian illegal immigrants there, but they will face whatever the local laws are, and I don't think that can be really should become an irritant between India and U.S. relations. And again, see, President Trump has 200 things on his plate. So
Yes.
India-U.S. relations will really be driven at a level lower than him because India is not on his radar.
Hmm.
Uh, all his statements in his presidential as a campaign speeches yesterday in actual speech, they were not mentioned, and that is a good thing. So there is nothing that is really troubling him or on his mind as far as India is concerned, and I would say that's a good thing because
Okay.
the normal India-US relations are going very steadily. There is a clear direction on which they are moving. All the agencies on American side, India side are working together. There are about 40, 50 working groups
Yes.
between India and US which work normally and so their work will continue. And
Yes.
the Quad is meeting tomorrow, so the geostrategic direction also remains the same.
Certainly, and we'll hear perhaps more on whether we'll have a Trump visit to India as well, because India is expected to host the Quad summit this time around as well, and whether there will be more on that. It could be a state visit or not. All that remains to be seen. Perhaps we'll hear more about it as we go
But we
along.
should
Could
not be
be,
in a hurry. I think let the president settle down, let his system settle down. We should
yes,
wait and then see when
perhaps
the
sometime around April.
That's right. All right.
All right, sir. Thank you, Ambassador Tal, for joining us and talking about it.
Thank you.